Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about May 26, 2021, lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. Now, a lunar eclipse in astrology is like a regular full moon, but it is much more amplified. It's intensified. It's a lot more. You could say it's much more powerful, and it's really something where it can manifest in a very, you could say, unrestrained, uninhibited emotional outburst. It can be a very strong and powerful declaration. Now, considering there has been this declaration, you could say, of people not having to wear masks, those COVID masks, in at least in certain situations and scenarios, or when one's outside, at the very least in the United States, if they have been fully vaccinated. I think we're getting some of that energy perhaps earlier because Sagittarius is associated with the outdoors, and you're talking about it's also energy connected with freedom. Uh, the thing about this is if they and the thing about it is that the full moon is when you can have full moons in astrology. It's when we become very exasperated and very tired of things. And the thing about it is, and again, this is the emotional release, or this could manifest in that emotional release for the freedom and wanting to expand one's horizons. And the fact that this is happening, you're talking about a lunar eclipse, it can be very monumental and life altering situation in one's life. The outdoors, again, is associated with Sagittarius. And the thing is, this could also be in really very powerful unleashing. Very, it could sometimes be very, in this case being in Sagittarius, very jocular, jovial feelings. If somebody is becoming angry over something and tired of something that's been going on for a very prolonged or protracted period, it can be, like Gemini, somewhat excitable energy considering it's in Sagittarius. It could be very loud. It can be something where something comes out in a very tactless type of manner where diplomacy is not really going to be there. Another thing is, now say if this falls like in the seventh house in someone's chart as an example, it can be something where somebody maybe makes a marriage proposal. To remember that the full moons in astrology can be about unveilings. It can be about something that's been held in for some time and internalized, and it's something that may come out. It doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily all bad. I mean, the full moon, the new moon is the new moon is perceived as more introspective. It's more about auspicious for new beginnings. The lunar eclipses, full moons, are all about culminations and endings of things. And again, often very life-altering, monumental events for a person may transpire at this time. Now, this lunar eclipse, it can collectively affect all zodiac signs, of course, but especially, of course, Sagittarius and the zodiac sign Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant people. Sagittarius, of course, because it's going to be in their own sign, and then, of course, the zodiac sign Cancer, because the moon does rule and govern Cancer, and a lot of that, the reason this could be very strongly connected with why the zodiac sign Cancer can be very temperamental, moody, and fickle. And they are just simply sensitive to all transits and phases of the moon. And this will be especially intensified if it is making if this is making a conjunction to a Sagittarius sun, moon, or ascendant in the natal chart. Now, the thing about full moons and lunar eclipses on a higher level, of course, there could be a greater propensity for accidents at this time. And it could be one of a more serious nature because considering this will fall on a lunar eclipse. Now, being in Sagittarius, it could be attributed to very supremely reckless driving. It could also be accidents may be attributed to very self-righteous behavior. It could be in some cases like the daredevil syndrome, like a motorist that may fearlessly try to beat a drawbridge and has an accident as a result of this, because Sagittarius could be very daring, audacious energy. Very careful to be it's important to be very prudent at this time, people. You're out on the road. Um, and also, too, it can be, you might see more, some more accidents, perhaps in foreign travel, say on planes, as an example. And also, too, it could be like, for example, that non-worrisome energy. The what me worry philosophy of Sagittarius may cause some problems as well as impossible accidents. It could be, for example, not checking the fuel tank in a plane sufficiently, or those I don't know if they have these, but if they have them, devices that check to see if other planes are in the area. And it's just like, because again, the Sagittarius energy could be very reckless. It can be very non-worrisome energy. And anyway, now also too, this could be, this transit of this lunar eclipse in Sagittarius can manifest in a very powerful ending or culmination of something. It can be where something connected with recklessness comes to an end. Say if it's in the 5th house, it could be like the reckless gambler syndrome might come to a halt. It might be something that is associated with foolhardiness, even something sports related in some cases. Now, it can be a situation with the law. Um, it might be a religious congregation that maybe you end a connection with at this time, if you are involved in one. And also could be a very, like that what me worry outlook on something. Maybe that comes to a cult or culmination or completion. Say if this falls in your 8th house in the natal chart, perhaps it could manifest in having that non-worrisome energy, maybe involving dying, come to an end, and you might wind up taking care of your health more as a result. Remember that when you're talking about lunar eclipses in astrology, they could be about very powerful endings. It could be about endings of something that had gone on for a very prolonged or protracted period, but it could also, of course, signify new beginnings as well. So anyway, and it could also be a situation where a philosophy might come to an end. It could be something that you did with a lot of exuberance, optimism, and enthusiasm that maybe did not have to be done as much. It could have been something that really wasn't of a very important nature, anything that's significant, and it may come to an end at this time. Now, also, too, and of course, this could also reflect the end of say, a Sagittarius career, or it can be a position. Say, especially if this falls in what I would call one of the money job houses in the chart, the 2nd, 6th, or 10th house, and it can be an end of an immigration position, or something with religion, philosophy, theology, publishing, working as a travel agent, a pilot. It could be a sports career. Um, it may be a situation with translation. You might be working with translation, exploration, and importing, exporting business, working as a college professor, a motivational speaker, working in exploration. Now, again, this could be, full moon lunar eclipses in astrology can also be expressed in a very strong revelation or unveiling. It may pertain to a foreigner, it may be an in-law, it may be something with the law or discrimination even, something with immigration, it's something that you may have done that was somewhat adventurous. If it's in the 8th house, it could be somebody you were in an intimate connection with that was being a little bit of an adventurous, so to speak, in their own sexual liaisons in terms of being faithful to you. It could be some kind of unveiling or revelation connected with something reckless or foolhardy. Maybe it's something about expanding horizons, which could actually be good. It might be a self-revelation to you that you need to expand your horizons, and depending on what house it falls in the chart is where you may feel there is a need to expand those horizons at this time. It could be something with higher education or religion or gambling. It might be about not taking things seriously as you should have, or being overly whimsical about things that you should have been more serious about, and it might lead to a life altering change. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now this transit can also manifest in becoming very exceptionally tired, exasperated, simply full of a situation or something. Now, being in Sagittarius, it may be someone that may be overly tactless, perhaps to the point of demoralizing you. If it's in the 10th house, it might be a supervisor, which might lead to you leaving the place of employment. Um, it can be, say, something that's very reckless or nomadic or adventurous or capricious might be ending. It might be your own life. Maybe you feel you've been somewhat nomadic. Say if this falls in your first house of self. It might be something where maybe you've been kind of the meander. You've been wandering around, not really finding much, purpose physically, moving to go into this place, going to this other place. It may be something that's unreliable or flighty, or it could be somebody that might be speaking their own veritable truth, but not necessarily listening to yours may come to an end. It may be somebody's self-righteous behavior that you've simply become tired of. Now, also too, keep in mind that lunar eclipses can often signify the departure of a dominant female in one's life. It may be a significant other, it may be a mother or even a grandmother. It could be an important female friend that has played a provocative role in your life. If it falls in your fourth house, as an example, it could be, excuse me, could likely be the mother. The first or seventh house, it could be a grandmother. And the seventh house could be a significant other. The 11th house is where it could likely be a prominent female friend. Now, given that this is in Sagittarius, it may have something to do with the nomadic energy I talked about before. It may be something, now, if this is something too, like say if this falls in, this is a situation with significant other, a marriage partner. It could have been somebody that may have been somewhat adventurous or may have taken a lot of long journeys and was not home that much, which ultimately may bring the connection to a culmination or conclusion. Now, of course, look at the house it falls in. As this could impact the delineation and interpretation of this transit. Now, mine is going to fall in the 7th house in my chart. This could manifest in a multitude of ways. One way may be expressed is that it simply could be about becoming more cognizant of the fact I need to expand horizons, so to speak, in my relationships, which could include, it's significant, important friendships. And it may also be, remember that this could be a lot more significant than a regular full moon and could have, again, life-altering implications. And perhaps it could be the culmination of ending of having, the what me worry outlook on as far as having a prospective significant other goes. Now, another thing too, if this falls in the, say if this falls in the 1st or 6th house especially, it can be a situation where one may become cognizant of perhaps a serious Sagittarius health-related issue. Now, if this is something, it could be something with the thigh, or it could be with the liver, such as some cirrhosis, some kind of liver disease, sciatic nerve, the hip, and it could be hip replacement, or even excessive obesity. Now, there may be a greater propensity for this, of course, especially if this, let's say, if it conjuncts the ascendant, or even makes an inconjunct aspect to the ascendant from the 6th house. Now, another thing to look at, it's also important to look at the aspects it makes to points in your natal chart, is that could impact the delineation and interpretation. Now, the thing about this is going to, it's really as far as this goes. This is going to make a sextile to my Uranus and Libra in the sixth house. Now, this may indicate a very good blending, what I stated before, as far as the realization of expanding horizons, so to speak, in relationships and astrology in the daily routine, perhaps. Now, because my Uranus is conjunct the sixth house cusp. Sixth house cusp is daily routine. Uranus could be connected with astrology. Now, another thing about a full moon lunar eclipse is they can manifest and bringing things out publicly. Now, I thought it's interesting. Now, this lunar eclipse can make it more prominent and even more successful. Now, on this date, there's something called the company is Vista Outdoor Incorporated, and they're going to host virtual investor day on this day of the full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. Now, interestingly enough, the company manufactures and produces and markets very ingenious and innovative outdoor and recreational products. It will likely be showing new outdoor sports merchandise and products. And keep in mind, again, the moon is about the public. Full moon lunar eclipses can be about bringing things out into the public, and Sagittarius is associated with sports. Full moons in astrology, again, can be about unveilings. There's something else I thought was interesting is that Woody Page, who was a regular panelist on ESPN's show Around the Horn, suggested something in pro baseball where the first base maybe should be flat, like home plate, in order to cut down on the propensity for injury. Now, ironically enough, Woody Page is a Sagittarius ascendant, and it makes me wonder if we may hear something about changes or modifications to MLB regarding that near this time, regarding the base paths. Now, another thing is that this is going to fall at 5 degrees Sagittarius. So as far as Sabian symbols go, this may manifest in gaining renown and notoriety for the completion or culmination. It could be of a writing, something that you're going to get published. It could be researching something extensively associated with science. It could be with chemicals or I'm wondering if this may suggest there will be some kind of unveiling as far as a more effective COVID vaccine, or that may have come with a lot of laborious research. And also, perhaps on the negative end, maybe it's about other people perhaps capitalizing on others' industrious efforts and making money off them based on Sabian symbol, their meaning on this. Now, another thing about this, it's also important to look at the electional aspects this makes, as this could impact the delineation and interpretation and how it manifests. Now, of course, the moon in Sagittarius is going to oppose the sun in Gemini, as all full moons have the opposition with the sun. However, Jupiter in Pisces will square both these points to form a mutable T-square configuration. Now, first off, when you have the Gemini-Sagittarius opposition, that could be that like the perpetual tug of war between wanting, which is the sun, to rely on being shrewd using street sense and early education to survive, and then you have it opposing the emotional need, which is the moon in Sagittarius, for higher education, college studies. And given that this is taking place on a lunar eclipse, there may be decisions that could be very monumental and life-altering. And also, Jupiter in Pisces, it is Jupiter in Pisces in that midpoint, okay. The thing about this, it's also the point, Jupiter in Pisces is the point of overcompensation for the other two astrological energies, and there may be expressed in the enlargement, which is Jupiter, of dreaming, fantasizing, imagining, being overly idealistic, and trying to balance the energies out, and it could also be about wanting, which is the sun, to tell people what they want to hear, which is Gemini, and the need, which is the moon, speaking the veritable truth, which is Sagittarius. And again, you have the point of overcompensation, Jupiter in Pisces, and that may manifest in very enthusiastically, perhaps, which is Jupiter, to escape and finding isolation, which is Pisces. So anyway, people, well, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.